Hello, Coltafians. This is Paul, and I'm back for another review. Today I want to talk about Zootopia, the 2016 Disney film about two animals, a fox and a rabbit who must become unlikely allies to thwart a plot to pin predators and prey against each other. Now, about 7 years ago, I made a video talking about Zootopia long before it came out, and in it I made a few predictions, some of which didn't hold up well. And what I have to say from that teaser trailer is that I think it will work. It looks awesome. The characters are beautifully designed. Do I think it will be a big hit? Yes, I do. It's Disney after all. Do I think it will be big as Frozen? Possibly. It depends on the story. Hopefully it's not recycled or anything like that, which I don't think it will. And this gets to the meat of this review. I didn't like this movie. Even as a furry enthusiast, Zootopia just did not hit. I'd say in the post-Frozen era, Disney has been lacking stories that warrant anything more than a passive shrug. Yes, I'm definitely in the minority on that opinion, so don't take my review to heart. You can like whatever you like. It's just my opinion. What Disney has been putting out has not been for me. I didn't like Encanto. Raya and the Last Dragon was absolute trash. Frozen 2 makes the first Frozen look like Godfather. Ralph Breaks the Internet was a huge disappointment, and Moana was a bore fest. Honestly, Zootopia is the best one since Frozen. Big Hero 6 had potential, but it got dumbed down by the stupid, boring antagonist that's in every movie now, and unfortunately, Zootopia suffers from it too. But before we get into the bad stuff, let's talk about the good stuff. We can start off with the elephant in the room, the animation. Of course, the animation is world class, and I expect nothing less for Disney. Every texture is on point, most of the lighting is on point, the design of Zootopia itself is ingenious, and there are plenty of small details you can make out in the background. The city has a vibrant and zoo-like character to it that lends itself to a lot of cool visuals. I like the two main characters, Judy and Nick. I don't think they're the greatest characters, and we'll get to that soon, but they are enjoyable to watch and they have legitimate chemistry. The moral, while kind of underwhelming, is something I do find important, especially in today's world. Tons of films have tackled the issue of prejudice, and a lot of them usually fail at showing it properly. But what Zootopia does is clever. It ties into people's perceptions of animals and how our perceptions feed into prejudice, particularly when we are not aware of using prejudice. This shows how discrimination perpetuates within society and becomes this sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. Nick, for example, explains how he continues the stereotype of foxes being sly thieves, that society doesn't see him as anything but the stereotype, so he feels obligated to be a sly thief, almost like that's the only way to fit in. And Judy, in perhaps the best scene in the movie, realizes that she has her own prejudice. This creates an interesting contradiction with her symbol of inclusivity, since she is the first bunny cop of the police force, and she has to fight prejudice towards her as well. This isn't just black versus white. This is stuff that can connect to any real-world prejudice, and Zootopia handles the issue very cleverly. I even appreciate Gideon being a mature character when you see his older self, and it shows that people are capable of change. So with all that, how do they F it up? Well, in boring Disney fashion, we have another conspiracy, the person who's least likely to be the bad guy, ironic because everyone can see it coming, the mayor's assistant, unveils this complicated plot that just erases the simple genius of the message. No, it's gotta be the mayor's assistant using these drugged up berries that are basically like the opposite of rabies vaccines to turn the prey animals against the predators. And of course, it's another buddy cop story which I'm also so sick of because you just know what's gonna happen. The two main characters are not going to get along at first, and just when they really start to, some revelation splits them apart until another revelation gets them together again, with one of them giving a sorrowful apology before we begin the climax. I don't mind the formula, there's just nothing else to it. You're just watching the cliche play out, and it's just boring for most of the movie. Wreck-It Ralph had a very similar formula between Ralph and Penelope, but there were layers to it. I actually cared when Ralph had to destroy her race car. The story just gets drunk on itself and gets too ambitious for the wrong reasons. I personally prefer the scrapped alternate story where a lot of the predators were already in a state of catastrophic injustice. It was some South African apartheid level stuff where predators had to wear shock collars. Sure, it would not have connected to the real world as much since it is less subtle, but it definitely would have been more interesting than Eddie's committed long-lost relative. Additionally, we get a lot of random scenes that range from mostly pointless to completely pointless. Judy and Nick come across a club of nudists. In theory, that would be hilarious, but instead it's just painfully awkward. Was holding on the shot of the middle-aged elephant groin necessary? Judy and Nick get captured by the mafia. It's about as cliche as you think it would be, and nothing else comes out of that. Judy and Nick go to the DMV and wait for a sloth to check plates. It's kind of funny at first, but they really drag it out. There's this pop star named Gazelle. There's no point to her aside from being some celebrity activist. Anyway, these elements really sink most of the goodwill the movie was building. It's a shame because the story definitely had potential, and I would have loved seeing a mature deep dive into the nature of prejudice using these characters. It's just, Disney has too many boxes they have to check in order to appeal to a wide audience when it's not needed. Just like Big Hero 6, if they just kept the story with the two main characters, everything would have been fine. But as is, it's just another lackluster entry for Disney, not given enough water to sprout. I give Zootopia 2 out of 5 stars.